This is Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. We're joined again by Dick Morris. Welcome to Newsmax, Dick.
Thank you. I just got off the Newsmax cruise for 7 nights in the Caribbean, and boy, we had some great discussions during the day and some fun times at night.
All right, Dick, 13 states have filed suit against Obamacare, saying the forced insurance purchase mandate is unconstitutional, and also, in Florida's case, claiming a violation of the 10th Amendment, which reserves for the states all powers not specifically granted to the federal government. Virginia has already passed a law exempting its citizens from mandatory insurance purchase. Dick, where do you see all this headed?
Well, I think those constitutional challenges are very good. I think they're very legitimate. In my book that's coming out in 2 weeks, 2010, Take Back America, The Battle Plan, we have a whole section on the unconstitutionality of the health care bill. The individual mandate, clearly the government can say, pay me $10,000 and I'll give you health insurance. But they can't say, you go buy it from Harry and you have to buy health insurance. They can't do that. They can require driving insurance because it's a precondition of a privilege, which is operating a motor vehicle. But just simply for being alive, you can't be required to get health insurance. The liberals say it's based on the Interstate Commerce Clause. But number one, health insurance can't be sold interstate, so how could it be interstate commerce? And secondly, the people aren't buying the policies, so it not only isn't interstate, it's also not commerce. And I think the second element of the lawsuit, which is to say that the mandate that states have to cover 133% of the poverty level under Medicaid and pay for much of the cost themselves, is a total violation of the whole concept of the 10th Amendment, that states have powers and states have rights and can't just be legislated away by unfunded mandates from Washington. The biggest single reason that southern states have smaller budgets than many northern states is the Medicaid level that they accept. Texas has 27% of poverty admissible. New York has 150% of the poverty level covered. And that's why New York has a 9% income tax and Texas doesn't have any. By requiring 133% of everybody, you're really forcing those taxes up in the Sunbelt states, which will eliminate their competitive edge. And I think that may be one of Obama's objectives.
Andrew Napolitano tells us the challenges will take many years. In fact, the insurance purchase mandate doesn't even take effect until 2014. Is there anything that can be done sooner, Dick?
Yeah, I wonder if the insurance mandate can be challenged until it's actually enforced in 2014, which means they would rule in 2015 or 16. But the mandate on Medicaid coverage starts immediately, and that certainly can be challenged in the courts right now. But you know, beyond the court challenges, we also have a tremendous weapon, defunding. If we win a simple majority in Congress in the elections in November 2010, we can simply zero appropriate for all aspects of his bill, and he can't enforce it with no money.
That would eviscerate it.
Yeah, and his veto power would be impotent against that. I mean, he could veto the budget where we zero fund it and we won't have a federal budget, but ultimately he can't make Congress spend money. You can't push a string.
Democrats are going on the offensive now to try to sell this very unpopular and controversial legislation to the American people. You think they'll change many minds?
No, I think that the experience of the bill being implemented is going to change minds in the other direction. First of all, people are going to start seeing doctors refusing to take Medicare patients. They're going to start seeing Medicare refusing to allow them certain medical procedures. They're going to see curbs in their Medicare Advantage program. They're going to see all kinds of harms that flow from this. And I think that in the very near future, you'll begin to see longer waiting lists, longer waits for physicians. And I think that the impact on the quality of health care will be very sharp. Probably the most significant thing will be premium increases. I think that over the next 7 or 8 months, people can expect big increases in their health insurance premiums as a result of the requirement that they accept and insure everybody. Because the federal government can say, you have to insure everybody, but then the insurance company has to raise premiums to cover that. And while Obama says, I'm not taxing the middle class, those premiums fall squarely on the middle class.
So does this make it look really good for Republicans' chances of recapturing the House?
Yes, and the Senate. I think Republicans are very likely to take both houses of Congress. And if you go through my book 2010, Take Back America, you really see district by district and state by state how we can do it.
All right, Florida Governor Charlie Crist still defends his support for Obama's $832 billion stimulus package. In his televised debate with challenger Marco Rubio, he says as senator he would have voted for it. That would put him at odds with all but 2 other Republican senators. Dick, how much does that factor in his U.S. Senate bid?
Well, it's enough reason to reject him for the Senate. As a governor, he should know better. It is true that in the very short term, that stimulus package probably helped avoid some teacher layoffs and police layoffs, and it probably helped him balance the budget without higher taxes. But in the long run, like next year or the year after, the bill imposes mandates on the state, particularly in the area of unemployment compensation, where it requires a certain level of compensation and an extension of benefits, which the state has partially to fund. And his successor as governor, or he in the final years of his term, is going to like this bill less and less.
All right, turn to relations between the U.S. and Israel. Obama advisors say there's still a strong bond despite the dispute over expanded Israeli settlements in East Jerusalem. One advisor says Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu should have no doubt about Obama's commitment to Israel's security. How do you feel?
Oh, that's nonsense. Obama did everything he can to snub Netanyahu. And the specific commitment that I think Netanyahu wants is that if he attacks Iran, the United States will make good his losses in aircraft so that he's not vulnerable to Syria. I think the game that Obama is playing is that he wants to get rid of the Netanyahu government. He wants to bring Livni back in, who's more of a leftist and more prone to agree to a peace deal. And to do that, he's trying to make the Israeli people feel that Netanyahu's welcome is unpopular in Washington. But Netanyahu has a basic point, which is you can't dance without a partner. You can't just tread water. You need a partner in the peace process. And the Palestinians have a good cop, the Palestinian Authority headed by Abbas, and a bad cop, Hamas, the terrorist group that controls Gaza. So when you come to the peace process, the good cop, the Palestinian Authority, Abbas, says, oh, we want to make peace. You give us land, we'll give you peace. We'll recognize your right to exist. There'll be no more friction. And Hamas says, the hell with it. We're not recognizing it. Give us any extra land. We're going to shoot rockets at you from it. And any extra territory that gets ceded to the Palestinians, we're going to run against the Palestinian Authority, defeat Abbas, take over power ourselves, and then transform it into an armed camp against Israel. Now, until Hamas is part of the peace process and commits itself to its outcome, negotiating with the Palestinians is negotiating with the good cop while the bad cop gets ready to knife you in the back.
Dick, there are critics, though, who say the announcement of the expanded settlements coming while Vice President Biden was visiting there was a bad tactical move by Israel and would be interpreted by Iran and other enemies in the region as a sign of U.S. weakness. What about that?
Well, it would be interpreted by them as a sign of the United States' inability to boss Israel around, which is fine. They should get the understanding that Israel is a democracy and controls itself. I think that the issue of how many houses are constructed where is entirely beside the point. The question is, you can't make peace unless you have a willing peacemaker on the other side of the fence.
Dick Morris, as always, thanks very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.
Sarah Palin's new book, Going Rogue in American Life, will be released on November 17th. You can be among the first to get your copy. Check out our incredible free offer for Sarah's new book. Just go to Newsmax.com and click on the top banner for this great offer. Act today.